So Colby Covington got absolutely destroyed by Joaquin Buckley in the last UFC event of the year, in the last UFC main card fight of the year. I want to talk about the performance and then some of the things that have been said after the fight, because there's a lot of different narratives flying around about Colby. So let's get into it. First off, let's talk about the fight. What a performance by Joaquin Buckley. I can't take anything away from him. He looked fantastic. He looked fast. I think it's safe to say he improves every single time he gets in there. Do I feel like he looked like a world beater in there? No, I don't think that, like Chael Sonnen said, and we'll get into more of his comments later, I don't think that Joaquin looked like a world beater by any means. Like, I don't think he gives Bilal a real good run for his money. I think it was impressive what he did to Wonder Boy, don't get me wrong, but do I see him giving a challenge to a lot of the top 5 right now? I don't think so, especially when you get up into the higher ranked guys. I know a name that gets thrown out a lot is Leon Edwards, but no, Joaquin looked really athletic. He looked fast. He looked strong. Those big shots that, to Colby's credit, he was able to take were really, really landing for him. And the way he was defending takedowns was great, albeit Colby was a little bit slower. But yeah, so I wanted to preface this by saying I'm not trying to trash Joaquin Buckley or take away from his performance at all. I thought for what it was fantastic. And if you fight and you stop any guy with a doctor's stoppage, no matter the legitimacy of the cut or the fact that the guy was coming off the couch, I think that is a great win to have on his resume. But now let's talk about Colby, because he did come off the couch for this on 2 weeks' notice in an attempt to save the card, but also to kind of keep his name relevant. He was talking a lot before the fight, as he always does. This Colby is, or should be, sailing off into the sunset. Man, I just wish, in a guy that it seems like has kind of been handed a lot of favors over the years, right? 3 title fights in total, and a guy that's given the benefit of the doubt by the UFC in terms of matchmaking. I would have liked to have seen him make a better decision here rather than come off the couch against a very young and dangerous guy. I think that's the first thing. Like, his decision making late career, especially when a lot of people hate him right now. It's very favorable, and always has been, to kind of hate on Colby Covington. And Colby's in a spot now where he kind of has to walk on eggshells. He can't be suffering too many losses. Less people start to get talking, and he loses a lot of his credibility. I mean, we've seen it now. He's handled the loss terribly. He came out, Chael, to his credit, I think, is just trying to protect his guy, but him and Chael have come out, have given a lot of excuses. Colby's main ones were that, yeah, he was again coming off the couch. And the prevailing kind of sense from the camp of Covington is that if this fight had gone any further, that the tide would have shifted, the momentum would have shifted, and we could have potentially seen a decision or a finish win from Colby. I personally, watching that fight, didn't hate the doctor's stoppage. I understand that in some states it may have continued, right? And when you look at the cut itself, it wasn't that bad. It was just a lot of blood over his face. Colby didn't look fantastic in that fight. We can be real. He looked slow. The cardio was there and the toughness was there as per usual. Those are 2 things I feel like will never go away, especially while he keeps himself in such good shapes in between fights. He looked slow, because I know Chael had said that it seemed like Joaquin was able to have some sort of a sixth sense to know when Colby was shooting a takedown. No, it was just because Colby, his takedown entries were getting sloppy. They were slow to begin with. There were certain points on the feet, sure, when maybe it looked like he could have kept up the pace, but for the most part, he was getting outstruck. He would take Joaquin down. Joaquin would stay very calm, composed, and get back up to his feet and continue to just kind of pummel on Colby. I didn't see that fight really going anywhere spectacular to where this was a blatant robbery. And it didn't seem, to a further point, like Colby was really devastated, right? He had to do the thing where he shakes his head and he's like, I can't believe that. But from the body language, it didn't look like he was devastated that it got stopped. And I think that speaks a lot about where his mentality was at. It was a gamble for him to take this fight, and he kind of just bit off more than he could chew, and especially coming off of the last fight, which is wild to think, by the way, that was for the title against Leon Edwards. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like he's been on a 3-fight losing streak with the way that the public perception has been on him. But yeah, that fight, he didn't look fantastic either, man. I give him props for wanting to get in there, but I feel like him on a full camp would have been, well, that probably would have been a pretty competitive fight. I have to say, I think that would have been a way more interesting and probably a razor thin type of decision. At 36, he can't be risking taking these short notice fights anymore. He just can't. And that's the sad, unfortunate reality of a guy who's aging and a guy who's been rather inactive over the years. 5 fights in the last 5 years. He's at a moment right now where he needs to give himself the best chance of winning. Time is a finite resource for him right now, and every single fight he takes away time to do training camp, takes away time when he's in the cage, and takes away time that he could, I mean, listen, Every choice you make, super important. These are the things, and this is the mindset I think he needs to have. Or, and we could talk about this in a second, he could switch to a different type of mindset. You could take it in a more fun direction, right? A lot of the talent at 170 is trending upwards, so it might be tough to get Colby a fight when there's not already a personal beef in there, or it's an interesting fight or a guy wants it on his resume. If I were an up-and-comer at 170, maybe only if I was below him would I consider taking that fight, only because it seems like maybe he's slowed down and he's an easier target. But I think the primary modus operandi right now should be to get him fun fights and get him paid, because he has given a lot to the company. He gave 2 classic fights with Usman, a lot of trash talk, a lot of iconic moments. You can't dispute that. Colby is an absolute legend at 170. But his best years are behind him. We could say that, and that's fine to say. And it seems like he almost wants to like dip his toes in other areas like the World Series of Poker. He's been doing streams, so you know that there's gonna be other ways that money can come flowing in. And I want to see how that kind of affects the way he moves going forward. And then we have Chael's video after the fact, and I like the fact that he gave Buckley his props. There's definitely certain things I disagree with when, again, he says that the momentum was shifting in favor of Colby. I don't think that was a fair assessment. I think if anything, it only looked worse closer to the cut. There was a moment where it looked like he maybe got dropped or slipped. Another moment where it looked like he was going for a takedown and then kind of just flopped over on his back. Not great stuff that you'd want to see out of a guy in Colby Covington that's talked all this trash in the lead up to a fight. There's also the public perception of him, because if he keeps putting on boring fights and having guys cope for him, it's not the best. So I caution Chael, man. I think his entire team, they just need to be honest with themselves. Listen, you lost that fight. The doctor stoppage was not going to change anything. I don't agree with what the MMA guru is saying, where it's like he has plausible deniability now because of the doctor stoppage. I think there's no way that you can view that fight other than him having some competitive moments, but ultimately getting outclassed. And I think it was just a difference in physicality, really. Seeing the difference in physicality. And also, I know that Chael didn't mean to do this, but this is just something small I picked up on in his video. He thought the momentum was shifting, yet he talks about potentially throwing in the towel even before the doctor came in with that eye. That had to be something where it's like, you don't throw in, if you're the corner of a guy, you don't throw in the towel if he's cut open bad, but you think he's winning that fight. You want to give your athlete every single possible chance he has or she has to continue the fight. And so I think that speaks more into the thought process of Chael, regardless of the fact that he says, yeah, you know, listen, but regardless of the result, you look good. I don't think that Colby looked good, man. I thought the only thing that was there was his toughness. And while that's a great attribute to have, at his age now, that's not going to win him any titles. Overall, though, you got to respect Chael for defending his guy. I don't mean this to come down on Colby. I think he's offered a lot up to the sport, but the next fight he takes, I think it would be advisable by him to not have it be a short notice replacement. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, it's been your boy, the combat consultant, the soundboard god, Jacob Kuberman. I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.